It's Thursday, May 6th. It's time for the Centennial Cup preview edition of SJHL Insider. I'm your host, Clark Munroe, here at the IKS Media Studios. And today we discuss the Flin Flon Bombers and how they got to this point. Of course, the 2026 Cantera Seeds Cup champions after a 33-year drought. They're here now, and we're going to break down their playoff run and how they got to this point and how they look entering the Centennial Cup tournament. Plus, we look ahead around the tournament to all of the other teams to give you a little bit of insight on who the Bombers are playing and who they might see as the tournament progresses. And we'll be joined later on in the show by four guests today. It's going to be a jam-packed show. We're going to be joined by Flin Flon Bombers goaltender, goalie of the year, I should say, in the SJHL, Charlie Tritt, head coach and general manager Mike Reagan of the Bombers, and then we're going to head to Manitoba and talk to Dave Anthony, who is the voice of the Steinbach Pistons, but he is our MJHL analyst today, who's going to break down the MJHL champion Niverville Nighthawks, and then Dave Dawson of the AJHL and the HN Live broadcast team as well, who are the tournament broadcasters. He's going to join us to discuss the Canmore Eagles, who came out of the Alberta League this year. This is SJHL Insider. Let's get into it. Let's thank our sponsors to kick things off. Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevrolet, Great Western Brewing Company, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vaderstad. And joining me today to help me break this all down and preview the tournament is Jamie Neugebauer. Neugsie, the Maple Leafs won the lottery last night. Kind of a shock. Interesting, though. Interesting timing, given everything that's going on right now with that team. We're both Leaf fans. So if you want to maybe touch on that. But how have your last few days been? Because obviously the league final ended. It feels like forever ago. It feels like we've been waiting forever for this show. But it was about a week ago, and we're sitting here today. Bombers are champions. They're heading off. They just flew out yesterday. How have your last couple of days been here?
Yeah, good. I mean, every one of my sports teams keep losing. That's kind of normal. Well,
the Jays are in Tampa, so we expect that.
Toronto FC lost to Atletico Ottawa of the CPL yesterday. That's not so great. But yeah, I mean, I love to dive into, teams and rosters and look into, the Centennial Cup field.
Yeah.
I broke down all 9 other teams. I know, I'll let the experts, Dave Anthony and Dave Dawson kind of hit more on their teams or the league, that they're representing a bit more. But I love doing that. I love doing that kind of a thing. So I've had fun doing that. But obviously I messaged Willie Mason, of course, the assistant coach of the Weyburn Red Wings, whose sister is Gavin McKenna's mother, of course. And I said, I visioned this in the Weyburn Red Wings office months ago, that Gavin would be a Maple Leaf, and you kind of looked at me like I was from outer space, which was fair enough, considering how bad the Vancouver Canucks were this past year. So my heart goes out to Vancouver Canucks fans. But look, Toronto Maple Leafs fans, Toronto sports fans in general needed something to feel good about, Clark.
I guess.
And we got something.
Yeah, I was texting our good friend Jeremy Corrigan during the draft lottery last night, and I basically said to him that, you know what, I don't even feel good about this lottery win, because he's a Canucks fan, and he was just distraught. So we'll leave it there. But
I don't care about anybody else feeling. Really. All I care about is the fact that I think, especially after that press conference with Keith Pally being Keith Pally and Chayka, and then poor Matt Sundin up there. But you just know that they're going to screw this up somehow.
I'm really glad it was Sundin on camera and not Chayka, because I feel like he just needed to get out of the spotlight for a couple minutes after that whole thing. Okay, let's get into it now. It's time for the hat trick.
Some movement. Someone got up from their chair. That's amazing. If you're listening on the podcast,
you need to go watch that.
You got to go watch
Stephen Turner getting his 10,000 steps in
running.
Today. Yeah, good for him. Okay.
Unbelievable team tuna. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I wish you guys could hear it every time. I don't know if this is an inside joke that we've had for a while here. I'm just going to say it. I won't explain the whole story, but every time we say the word unbelievable on the show, Steven yells it from the back room, which comes around all the walls and comes into this room. Yeah. You can't hear it on the microphones,
the room with
but it's
the lockers.
It truly is unbelievable.
The brick wall.
There we go.
You'd maybe be able to
I think
pick
you
that
could
up.
hear that one.
He's loud, yeah.
Okay,
That's what his
Neugsie,
wife says,
let's
too.
talk about the Bombers and discuss how they got to this point. Just a quick little recap, look back at how they got here. So as you can see in the playoffs, obviously the Bombers finished in first place in the regular season. They were the number 1 seed coming in. They played the Estevan Bruins, who were the number 8 seed. They swept them. It wasn't as much of a blowout of a series as sometimes sweeps are in a 1 versus 8 seed matchup, but they did handle them to an extent. Obviously, getting through that one and getting a few days of rest before they faced the Weyburn Red Wings, who took them all the way to a Game 7. It was a fantastic series, but anytime you get a Game 7 up at the Whitney Forum, it's a very tall mountain to climb, and the Flin Flon Bombers were able to sneak that one out, which led to then 2 more games at the Whitney Forum that they started off at home. They ended that series at home. They got that little couple days in between. They started at home against the Yorkton Terriers. They were able to get both wins at home, which put the Terriers' backs up against the wall early, Neugsie, and then the Bombers were able to kind of have their way and find a way to win games 3 and 4. Talk to me about the Bombers' playoff run and just how you saw it going down.
Well, first of all, I'll say, and not that I wouldn't, backlash is not the right word, because everybody loves Connor Miller. He had a great playoffs and was absolutely deserving of the MVP, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Now, that being all said,
Sure.
Some people did say to me, including Mike Reagan, I believe on our show, was like, Charlie Tritt had 2 shutouts in the playoffs. He shut out Weyburn in Game 7. So I'm not good at math, but that's 3 shutouts in 5 games in a row there for Charlie. So you know what? Fair enough. But I think to give Connor Miller the MVP was actually a compliment to Connor, of course, compliment to the whole team.
Yeah.
Just because of how well they played in front of Charlie, and Charlie would be the first to admit that.
We'll talk to him in a couple minutes.
And he'd be the first to say, like, it's a team thing. People were playing great in front of me. And again, Charlie was outstanding and really, really good and did what he needed to do. Did he need to be spectacular? Did he need to win it for the Bombers? Absolutely not. What you want, and when we talk about the Centennial Cup with this Bombers team, Clark, is this is just a Bombers team that is lots of tools. I talked about it like a full toolbox.
Yeah.
Mike Reagan has a full toolbox.
They have a tool shed.
That's right, a tool shed.
Thank you.
Where pretty much everybody in the lineup can get on the ice and make a difference and impact winning.
Yeah.
Which is what you want. And this team is just hard to play against. And if they do their job like they did in the finals, they did. I guess maybe to a lesser degree against Weyburn in general, maybe at home we'll say.
Yeah.
There were times where Weyburn was the better team, but then they should still be just fine at the Centennial Cup, because sometimes it does take, and I'm sure you would agree, Clark, you've watched plenty of hockey, not just the SJ. Sometimes it does take till the finals till a team completely solidifies their identity.
Absolutely.
And I think this Bombers team has peaked at the right time.
Yeah. So let's have a look, topic number 2, just at their playoff stats and kind of see how they got here and mention. We mentioned Connor Miller, obviously leading the way. 9 goals, led the entire league in goals over the course of the playoffs. There's that MVP debate, but I think at the same time, this was a team, Neugsie, and I said it to Connor Miller when we interviewed him right after the game ended. This was a team full of MVPs, and we'll look at their regular season stats, not right now, in a minute, and kind of just emphasize that point. But Charlie Tritt, an 11-3 record in the playoffs, 4 shutouts. I mean, yeah. That's just how it went.
And three of the last, 3 shutouts in the last 5
games. Yeah, 2 in the final, 1 in Game 7.
Wild.
Yeah, but as you can see,
as I said, the Bombers played their best hockey of the season.
Yeah.
Then too.
Yeah, and if there was like an MVP, and I guess we picked a UPL Performer of the Night for the Game 4 of the finals. Look at Daniel Morozov's numbers, 9 points in 8 games. Like, they just had so many guys hovering around that point per game, and that's just how their team was built this year, and that's why they were so hard to play against.
And that's why, and I think this will actually help them, and maybe not help their egos, but that's why so many of the pundits, and I keep bringing it back to the Centennial Cup because that's what we're doing here.
Well, that's what we're doing here.
A lot of the pundits are not including the Bombers in the tournament favorites.
Right.
Because they look at the stats and say 15 and 11.
Yeah.
Gabriel Lahulier on Rockland had 18 goals in 13 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
18 goals. He had more goals than Connor Miller, their leading scorer, had points.
Right.
So that, it's a stats thing, but
let's let's go to topic number 3 and just bring up the regular season stats here, just to give a little bit of it. Like, I'm going to emphasize this point, and to what you just said. When you look at a team that is number 1 in the league by a bit of a margin during the regular season, they swept round 1, they swept the finals. Only 3 losses all playoffs long. You think to yourself, oh, well, they must have had a guy who maybe had like 100 points or like a couple of 80-point guys. Nope. If you look at their roster, a lot of guys hovering around a point per game. A lot of guys missed about 20 games this year. You look at Wyatt Stinton, you look at Ryder Muka. They had about a point per game, but they missed about 20 games this year. Maverick Delisle, he missed about 15 games or so this year. We talked to Nathan Lalumiere, who was, after the game, we had a good chat with Nathan, and he missed about half the season. He had about a point per game. So when you're looking at the Bombers, Neugsie, and we look at these regular season stats, we looked at their playoff stats, look at their goalie numbers too, my goodness. But this is a team, and I said it, it's full of MVPs. And I think to your point, when we see a team, let's say, who you mentioned from out east, who maybe a guy had 18 goals during the playoff run, or whoever, I'm just making a point here. Yeah, maybe they have like 1, 2, or 3 guys that maybe stand out and look good on paper. But when you have a team with 12 or so guys that at any given night can kind of be that guy, is that, I guess, and we'll see in a couple of days here, is that more valuable to have that type of build compared to a game breaker? Because I think that's where the pundits are looking at it, is maybe Flin Flon on paper doesn't have a guy that stands out as a traditional game breaker or a superstar or whatever. But when they're built as deep and balanced and physical and forechecking as they are, what would you rather have at this time of year? It's hard to say.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Clark. Like, I think that is right on the money. And the experience that I've had, being around junior hockey the last 15 years is, let's put aside the 2023 Battle for the North Stars for a second.
Sure.
Because that team was just stupid. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's the right word, is stupid.
Yeah, they were, and I mean that in the best possible way.
That's the most positive way.
We'll throw them out for a second.
Yeah.
Like, teams with like 100-point score, 200-point scores rarely win championships.
Right.
And you want like that depth, that blended, where it's not like if you're game planning for this Bombers team, and let me tell you, every coach in this tournament has been on Instat, obviously have been watching games on Flow, whatever it is, finding ways. Some leagues are not on Flow Hockey anymore, we found out. But anyways, they're watching this team and they're thinking, who do we match up against? Like, what? Who do you, like? Obviously, I think there are arguments for like all 4 lines to say like we're going to put our best D pairing on these guys. Yeah. And I think we're going to see coaches with different answers. We're going to see coaches with no answers. Yeah. Like, it's a real problem. And it was a problem for Yorkton. Yeah. To be fair.
And so I think to that point, if I can build on that, the Bombers have an advantage as we have 4 lines that I think Mike Reagan would say, I feel comfortable matching them with any of the lines on other teams.
Especially since they have such a defensive conscience.
Right.
Like, all 4 lines have such a defensive conscience. Right. So I think that's huge.
I think back, and I'm going to age me and you a little bit here because I know Charlie Tritt's listening. So this team was before he was born. Neugsie, do you remember when Regina? You probably don't because you're from Ontario and you don't have any recollection of Western Canada prior to moving here. But I'm joking, of course. But I think you'll remember these names.
Jerome McGinley?
No. Yeah, yes. Do you remember the 2001 Val d'Or Fouriers who came to the Memorial Cup in Regina, and they had two guys specifically, Simone Gamache and Brandon Reed. Do you remember those names?
Well, Simone Gamache was a big Spengler Cup guy.
He was for a long time. Simone Gamache had 184 points in 72 games in the Q that year. Sure. And Brandon Reed had 126 points. Then they had 2 other guys with 100 points. My point is they came to the Memorial Cup, got destroyed. Right. They got ran over. Yeah. So points are points, and they look good. You need them. Yeah. Eventually, you're going to need them. But my point is, after the 100 points guys, their next highest guy, 42 points.
Well, and to that point too, and we could go on and on about this all day. Yeah. It's not that the Bombers have trouble scoring.
No.
either.
It's just everybody
It's
does
just
it.
everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Like I was joking with Charlie. I was like, Charlie, like wow, you could score probably. Like I
Yeah.
saw a video. They had a little fun game there. I think maybe it was before the playoffs started,
Right.
or whatever it was. Little fun, thing with firefighters. I think in Flin, Flon, and Charlie had a bomb of a shot. I was like, Charlie, you can rip a puck. So I'm like, even their goalies could probably get in. Finn Werner, I think,
Werner
had
did
a nice little
spinorama
step
or
up there,
whatever.
spinorama with the puck. So hey, it's just not like they scored lots and lots of goals this year and through the playoffs. It's just they didn't have 1 or 2, 3 guys. That atomic line,
Right.
that you want it for sure, and that was the thing that one of the things that really obviously helped the Mustangs a couple of years ago with that Duguay, Hutchinson, Sleeve line. But this Bombers team doesn't have that, and as you said, we'll see if that stands them in great stead.
Yeah, they don't have a Southgate, Bell, Dole line.
Right.
They don't have, like you mentioned, Duguay, Hutchinson, Sleeve line.
Right.
But do they have 4 lines that can also do the job pretty clse? Yeah. So then that's
though some
the
of the
difference.
magic Arbery and Morozov made in Game 4 was
Yeah,
pretty fun.
That was pretty fun.
Pretty fun.
A guy
Not
who
a fair
had,
Yorkton fan.
A guy who had a really good night in Game 4. He had lots of really good nights.
All season.
Is Charlie Tritt, a.k.a. Chuck T, a.k.a. the goalie of the year in the SJHL. Let's bring him in, Charlie Tritt. Charlie, thanks for joining us today.
Guys.
I know you're out east. I know you got to practice later, so we'll make this, we won't keep you too long here, but thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start here. How was travel? How was getting there? How's the last few days been for you guys?
It's been good. It was long, but great to hang out with the boys, and obviously we're just excited to be here. So it was pretty smooth.
Charlie, thank you so much for your time. Rags was saying you guys got in at like 1 a.m. or something, so pretty cool of you to do this. Just take me through preparing for something like this as a goalie. I know the coach thinks about systems and blah 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 and whatnot, but talk about how, as a goalie, maybe you personally, are preparing to face just a bunch of shooters that maybe you've seen 1 or 2 or 3 before, but in general aren't really used to.
For sure, yeah, there's a little bit of pre-scouting that goes into it. Definitely, you got to know your opponent. But at the end of the day, it's about trusting yourself as well. I mean, I've put in a lot of work to get to this position, and I'm confident in my abilities. So I think that's a big part of it.
Charlie, we were talking, I think you heard some of it, just about the team structure, how the team is built this year, and how they're on paper. Maybe there's not a couple guys that necessarily stand out numbers-wise offensively, and just how you guys are built. But it seems like you guys are pretty comfortable winning that way. Talk to me about this structure of this team and how it helps your game, maybe as a goaltender.
For sure. I think that's our biggest advantage as a team. I mean, in the playoffs, we played a couple teams that had guys who were getting 80 points, and I think it was to our advantage because they rely on those guys and we can just roll and roll and roll. And teams don't really know what to do because, I mean, it's not common, right? Typically, you have your star players, and after that, everyone's just kind of helping out as much as they can. But on our team, everyone is so important to our team, and everyone contributes so much. So for me as a goalie, it's amazing to see. Like you mentioned, everyone's so defensive minded here, and it's true. Like everyone hates getting scored on as much as I hate getting scored on. So as a goalie, that's rare, and you appreciate it a lot.
That's awesome.
I got to ask you too, Charlie. We asked Rags this, in our finals recap show. You guys have had some time to rest up. My understanding is that there's nobody watching practice today. Everybody's in. Everybody's available. That must be such a sweet feeling. Hard for Rags, I'm sure, to pick, and I know that's a bit of a less stressful situation for you maybe than others. But I know, just talk about the vibe around the group now that everybody's healthy.
Yeah, it was great to have some time off. Obviously, it was a long run, and everyone gave everything they had. So to have some time to relax and get back to work and get feeling good was awesome. And I mean, it's a great problem to have 27 guys who could go every night in a national tournament. It's a great problem to have. So I think everyone's just excited to get going.
We were talking to one of the guys who's directly in front of you often is Xavier Fauchon. We talked to him last show too, and I told him, I'm like, it's funny when we think of the Bombers defensive group and we think of the guys who are clearing the way for Charlie, we think of these monstrous dudes, Braden Bruce and Pierce Yakumchuk and Kyle Marsden, all these monsters. And then Xavier and Ryder, they're kind of just regular people. They're normal sized. When you think of your defensive group overall, how much does the way that the guys are paired up, the types of pairings you guys have, because you kind of have a few different types of pairings. You have, for the most part in the playoffs, it was like Pierce and Braden. They kind of played together, and they're just like towers. And then you had, Marsden was in a couple times. You had kind of a mix of guys on that other pair. And then Xavier and Ryder were just so good together, so gritty, so hard-nosed. Talk to me about the guys in front of you on that blue line and just what the differences, but also like how they work together as a group.
Yeah, definitely as a goalie, you got to know your personnel, know who's on the ice and their tendencies. But I trust every guy back there so much.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so nice as a goalie to, whenever someone's on the ice, there's no worries for me, right? Like, I have full faith in everyone in this group. And yeah, like X and Nutter, they're so good. Like, I played with Nutter, I've seen Humboldt, and he was just, he was our captain. He would do whatever it took. And he brought that over to Flin Flon. It's been the exact same. Xavier, just such a smooth defenseman, so reliable. And everyone back there is just a pleasure to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I mean, we were talking to Xavier. Might need to rein in Nathan Mounier a little bit around this Longueuil team that you're about to take, because I think he might try to bite. No, I'm just kidding. He's not going to bite anybody. I'm kidding. But he's going to go. Those guys are going to go at some of those Quebec guys. They're game one, but we won't ask you to game plan Longueuil for us.
Yeah, that's a great first opponent, personally,
right.
I think.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Longueuil's a pretty good hockey team. But I got to ask you, Charlie, and I've decent sense how you're going to answer this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. CJHL Goalie of the Year finalist. A lot of people are talking about the Niverville goalie, Dubinsky, among others, and one of them is obviously the Longueuil goalie that you're going to stare down here in the first game too. Obviously, you got to just take care of your business, but I guess just talk about being in that group and maybe what it means to you.
Yeah, I guess first I'll say it's an honor to be nominated for sure, but it's the last thing on my mind. I really don't care at all about the awards or individual accolades. I'm here for one thing, and that's to win a national championship. So,
yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
The one thing I was going to mention, Charlie, like, how do you guys? Well, now that you're there, I know you have a practice later today. At this point, when it comes to preparing and stuff, are you guys kind of just going through the motions and getting loose, or is there actual stuff that you're working on still as a team at this point?
No, I think everyone here is hungry and we want to get better every day, right? Whatever Regs has planned for us in practice, we're going at it 100%. No going through the motions, no letting up. We are ready to go and ready to work.
Love that. Yeah.
For sure. Last question for you, Charlie. I don't know, again, probably should have done better research. Have you ever been part of like a national championship sort of a setup? And either way, like how much fun is this? How excited are you for this?
Yeah, I haven't. No, I mean, I won, in when I was younger in P.E.I and stuff, provincials, but there was no nationals at that time. And then in U18, won the CSHL, but again, no nationals. So here, yeah, it's been cool so far. We only been here for probably less than 12 hours, but it's been awesome. And, we're excited. Like, it's just such a great opportunity, and you got to cherish these moments. So we're ready to go.
Was there a calculated discussion about how many guys are wearing mustaches, or did that just happen naturally?
Everyone. So we all had some good playoff beards to go in, and after about 6 weeks of that, we were ready for something new. So we decided let's go mustaches for nationals.
There you go.
So we'll leave it here. This will be the last one. I've been out east for. Now, not hockey championships, but baseball ones over the years. The food out there is different. It's
get
so
some
good.
lobster in you, buddy.
I know you. I know you just got there, but do you know of any? Have you got anything on the bucket list that you want to cross off while you're out there?
Nothing planned yet, but I heard lobster season just opened last week, so it's probably a good time to get that going.
Charlie, you're in for a treat, buddy.
Oh.
Okay, well,
Awesome.
enjoy the whole thing. We'll keep an eye on you, obviously, and maybe we'll try to catch up with you at some point. But best of luck. Get out there on practice and do well, and we'll catch you at the games.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
brother.
Really
There we
appreciate
go.
it.
Charlie Tritt, what a guy.
He's the best.
Neugsie, how many times have you been out east? You've been a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, a whole bunch.
Yeah, I've been out there. Like I think I've been lucky enough to go. I think 3 or 4 even times for baseball tournaments, championships, and nationals, and whatever else, Team Saskatchewan stuff. And every time I'm like, oh man, I need to live here.
Yeah,
like it's so good.
Well,
the first time I ever had muscles was in
yeah.
Sydney, Nova Scotia when I
I'm
was
still
like
working
12.
on getting that. Actually, set me up for that.
What a dad joke.
There you go. Well, I'm a dad. A big part of the reason, I won't go into it too long, but a big reason why I'm in this career even is when when I was in second year university, I covered a university hockey team in Ontario, pretty much walking distance from where Jack Martin of the Flin Flon Bombers is actually from,
right?
Wilfrid Laurier, and it was.
And you guys had a really good chat.
It was in, yeah, it was in. We did have a good chat. Yeah, morning skate. It was in Moncton, New Brunswick, and I went to the national championships there. All expense paid. Cover it for the newspaper and whatever. And I was like, this can be a job. So that's a big reason why I'm here. But yeah, I've been to every Atlantic province except for P.E.I. actually. So I would love that. I would love to check that off my bucket list. I thought when you said the bucket list thing to Charlie, you said just to win the national championship. Well, but you got to.
I'm not focused on the food. Okay, Charlie.
Right.
Can you have fun?
Yeah, I know. They have fun.
Joking,
the Bomber
obviously.
boys love to have fun
obviously.
for sure.
I'm sure they'll get a good seafood feast out there.
But we
maybe.
talked to Xavier Fauchon in our recap show, and he said that Nathan Mounier knew a whole bunch of guys on the Longueuil team.
Right.
And so, and it was interesting too. We asked them about trying to cover Gabriel Courchain and William Leonard on Yorkton, and they said we could say a few things that maybe they don't know around here what we were talking about and whatever. So I'm like, Matt, you got an all you can chirp buffet coming up here.
Yeah.
Those boys there, La Lumiere, Delille, and those guys are gonna have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just awaiting Mike Reagan to log in here, and we'll bring him in momentarily. But yeah, Neugsie, the first time I was out east, Sydney, Nova Scotia, 2003. So I was like 12 or whatever that was. And it was the Canadian Little League Championships. So the winner of that goes to the Little League World Series. We lost. We got to the final, but we lost. But our billet family that I was staying with, me and another one of my teammates, again, we're like 12-year-old Saskatchewan boys. We've never seen seafood before, right? Outside of maybe like one trip to Red Lobster. Yeah. So our billets are like, oh, okay, well, we'll have your parents over. We'll do it upright. All day long. I think we had a day off or something for some reason. All day long, all I smelled was butter. It was just the whole house smelled like melted butter all day. Good. And then we get upstairs, like they call us up or whatever, and it's lobster, it's crab, it's mussels,
They're gonna love it. They're gonna
oysters.
Love it.
It was unbelievable. I'd never had any of it. Thank you, Stephen. It was unbelievable. I had never had any of it before, so that was my first introduction. And like, way to set the bar high, Clark. Like that. I haven't had anything to match that, I don't think, ever since. It was pretty awesome. And then another time we went back, I think I tried lobster rolls. If you never had a lobster roll from out east, it's different.
Good stuff.
It's different. Neugsie, let's talk about a little bit more about this tournament as we wait Mike. Mike will be in just a couple seconds. We don't have a ton of time, but
maybe run down the format here real quick.
Yeah, why don't we show the schedule?
Yeah.
Let's show the schedule first for the Bombers here. So you mentioned they play College Français de Longueuil first on Friday, tomorrow. What's the rest of the way look like?
Yeah, so they have the AJHL champion Toronto Patriots. I'll try not to glow too much. Of course, that was my team for a long time in Ontario. Yep. We won back-to-back championships in the mid-2010s.
Okay.
And the last time they were there, a SJHL team won the RBC Cup.
Fair.
In 2014
okay, that's a good omen.
So hopefully that's a good omen.
This is
their third time they've won the OJHL. Second time they've made it to the national championship. We don't need to talk about the 2015 Dudley Hewitt Cup where we lost to Fort Francis and it was painful. Anyways, Greater Sudbury Cubs, we saw them against Melfort last year. And again, we'll break all these teams down, and then the Maritime League champion Truro Bearcats as well. And again, we'll break that down to close it out. But make sure you pay attention to the start times there in the gray. It's 12 in the Atlantic time, and 9, 1, 9, and 4:30. So it'd be interesting to talk to Mike about the differences in, preparing for different puck drops as well. Noon puck drops for them.
A lot of early times.
Some early times. So that, guys are so routine oriented and whatnot, but I'm sure they'll say you got to just get into that tournament when you're a kid sort of mindset and just go out and play. But I would say overall, Clark, 2 to start, a break, and then, 1, and then a break, and then 1 is actually not the worst, because on the 14th, if they get that far, then they have a day off on the Thursday, and then then it's 3 and 3
Then it's the finals.
if you have to.
Yeah.
But what we saw with Melfort last year was it was so critical to not have to play that quarterfinals if you can avoid it. Obviously, everybody's trying to win every game.
Yeah.
Not saying you're not, but if you have to play the quarterfinals, that means you need to do a 3 and 3. To win it all, and again, that's not easy. Now, that being said, this team is deep, as we said, so they're not really reliant on 1 or 2 or 3, 4 guys. Wouldn't be stunned if Finn Werner even gets a start.
Right.
I'm not going to speculate which one. As good as he's been all year, he deserves it, I would say. Either way, but should be pretty interesting.
My guess is that Charlie's going to get the run of the first 2 or 3 games, and then they'll see where they're at. I think if they're at a point where they're either very successful or the opposite, which we won't even mention, that Truro game might be a Finn Werner game, but
we'll see.
Regardless, we're not looking ahead too far.
Finn is as good as
anyone. That's the thing.
Any goalie in the CJHL,
right.
Period.
So I wouldn't even worry. I'd be fine
luxury.
playing him game 2, for example.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing, what was I going to say there? The tournament itself. Obviously, like you mentioned, like the early start times and everything. No game on Tuesday for the SJHL squad. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do a Tuesday show, Neugsie. So for those wondering, like, are we going to do anything during the tournament? Yeah, we were going to plan for a Monday show. But like I mentioned, because the Bombers play at 9 a.m. on Monday, we probably wouldn't have been able to really comfortably get any of their guys to talk to us right after their game ended, basically.
Right.
So we're going to push that to Tuesday. So we're going to do a Tuesday show, basically SJHL weekly style. We'll do it live, and we'll hopefully have a couple guys jump on with us if they're not too busy. We'll figure that out. But that Tuesday, they do have a day off. So that's what we're going to do, a show on Tuesday, just for anyone who was wondering. I think we got Mike coming in here, so we'll just keep rolling here until he's fully ready to roll.
Sure.
You mentioned the format. I don't think we have a graphic. We don't have a graphic for it, but if you finish first in your pool, you get a bye to the semi. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a bye, and then there's crossover quarterfinals.
Yeah. Right.
And then
so like a 2 versus 3 type thing.
Yeah.
Right. 2 and 1 plays 3 in the other. 2 and 1 plays 3 in the other type thing.
Yeah.
And then those teams play in the semis. Those teams, whoever wins, goes
and the
to
higher
the final.
the two group winners get the bye into the semis. So it's so you have to be a top 3 team in your group of 5.
Yeah.
And then 2 plays 3 crossover, and then 1 as a bye, and then it's sort of a reseed, and and it should be interesting.
So it sure does help to get off to a good start, though.
It is enormous. And last year the Mustangs lost, game 1, right?
Right.
So and then everybody was all like freaking out,
Yeah.
and whatever. And
Worked out,
and it
but-
worked out pretty good until they, unfortunately ran out of gas.
Yeah.
In the last game, and obviously they, the Weyburn Red Wings really competed hard against Melfort. Not that Yorkton didn't, because Yorkton also competed hard against Flin, but Melfort did not have the same amount of time off.
They didn't have that rest in between.
As this Bombers team, So, and again, I think health was a big problem for both Centennial Cups for Melfort last couple of years. As banged up as this Flin team was all year, knock on wood.
Yeah,
they look like they're in decent shape. I think there's a guy or two that's still trying to, be ready as best as possible. But it should be. I have nothing but faith in this Bombers team.
Yeah, I think I remember. Well, there's a clip going around right now. Austin Shepard of the Melfort Mustangs.
Yep.
He just did an interview. I think was it DJ McGrath?
DJ McGrath
has a new podcast out, which is great, by the way. You should go check it out.
Kindersley Clippers alum.
Yeah. So Austin Shepard did an interview where he said, I can't remember if he was referring to playing at the Centennial Cup or not, but he basically said, like, I played that whole stretch with a separated shoulder.
Yeah.
And
those Melfort teams were
I think those
those
Melfort teams that were there, as good as they were, and that's a testament to how good they were, that they both got to the silver medal game, both those teams, or the gold medal game, I guess. They got silver medals, but they were both beat up. And not that this Flin team's not like you just mentioned. Like, there's still a couple of guys, obviously. There's always going to be at this point. But I would assume that Mike Reagan's feeling as good as anybody has in the last little while about the health the health status of most of their guys on their team. And like you mentioned, Charlie saying, you know, we said Charlie looks like most of your guys are practicing, and he says that everybody's ready to go if their name's called. So that's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah.
Bryce, I think
who's ready? Mike Reagan's ready to go.
Is he ready to go?
Yes, he's ready to go.
Oh, he's in. Okay.
There he is.
Well, there he is.
Don't want to keep the man waiting.
Let's talk to him.
Yeah.
Mike, we were just talking about, I don't know if you heard us saying just now, about, we were comparing Melfort's teams the last couple of years and their injury health status to your team this year. And obviously, again, this isn't, I know I always ask you this question when it comes to the finals, and you can't really give me much because you don't want to give the other team too much info. But in terms of health status overall, how are you guys feeling going into game one here as you are in Summerside now?
This has been the healthiest we've been all playoffs. So,
Right.
I know you guys were just talking about that. I think that's obviously a good thing for us here to start the tournament where we should have everybody available to us. Obviously, there's still guys that are banged up, but they're able to play, through it. And, there's being hurt and then there's being injured. So, I think that we feel good about, the availability of our players. For me as a coach, a lot of times throughout the year, we're, not really having a choice in who we put in the lineup. And now I got to be the bad guy. I got to make some difficult choices here. And some guys obviously aren't going to get in the lineup in game one. But, we've got to this point because of our depth all year. And we feel that, every guy's going to be able to contribute at some point in this tournament.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit deeper, because earlier on in the show, we were discussing, we've seen some teams that have won the SJ over the years. We talked about the Battlefords team from a few years ago with Southgate, Bell, and Dole. We talked about the Melfort team with Duguay, Hutchinson, and Sleva. All those guys, 80, 90, 100-point seasons. Your team this year doesn't have those guys. But at the same time, we see a depth on that roster that we don't often see. Can you talk to us about why this team is just different than some of the teams you've maybe had? I think about a couple years ago with your team, with Silvestri and Lees and all these guys who could put the puck in the net at will. This year's team is just built different. Can you talk to me about the structure of your team?
Well, I think that, going into the season, we knew we didn't have a superstar. And we had to score by committee, and by committee we did. And that was also a really nice thing as a coach when you're not relying on one or two guys or even three guys. If they don't have a big night tonight, we're in trouble. It was kind of like, one night it would be Reed Arbery, Joey Lees, and Munroe. As it was in game 4 against Yorkton, and then other nights it's Stinton, Alexander, and Ewan, and then other nights it's Delisle, Martin, and whoever's on the left. Lalumaire's been there, Hudson, Brehut, and then even now I haven't even talked about Connor Miller or Leo Seitz. So, when you get into those guys, are the 8th or 9th people you talk about or players you talk about, that obviously says how deep we are and how comfortable we are with our entire lineup.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, obviously, Mike, we could go through your whole roster and talk about it, but we don't have the time for that. But I do want to kind of hone in on the power play for a second, because that is so important to take your advantage of your opportunities, in a short tournament, in a big game when you get them, and you get, a healthier Joey Lees in, you get a healthy enough Leo Seitz in, and, a healthy enough Sam Ward. And obviously the power play was clicking even without those guys. But I guess just talk about how critical it is to especially kind of have those three guys, with a little bit more time to set up this power play like you want to.
Well, it definitely makes life easier. You're not just relying on 5-on-5 scoring and your penalty kill to shut down the other team. And, going through some of the rosters and some of the film, watching these guys, there's some very dangerous players there. And we're going to find out real quick that your specialty teams need to be on. You can't start late in a tournament like this. And, I think the nice thing for us is now we've kind of formed 3 power play units with all different looks, which is, I think makes it tougher for our opponent to pre-scout us. We can throw different looks, different breakouts. I will say that throughout the playoffs, we did learn from a few other teams on what worked for them, and we've tried to implement a few things into our attack and how we do things. So I think we grew a lot throughout the playoffs and the specialty teams. I think again we had to adjust to a couple different power plays when you look at Weyburn, the way they were doing things, and then Yorkton had that deadly power play and some real threats there, and obviously in the first round, I mean you got Williams and Rennie and Andrews, and I mean they had a really good power play unit as well. So our penalty kill had to, and we went 100% in that series on the penalty kill. So I think it's going to be really important that the specialty teams get off to a good start.
Well, number 1 power play during the regular season, number 2 penalty kill during the regular season. Mike, you got to pick that up. Number 2 penalty kill. Come on. And then in the playoffs, number 1 and number 1 all the way through. So
that's how you win.
That's how you win.
That's how you win.
It's a good help. It helps at least, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, I got to ask you, Mike, about, I don't know, did you talk to Trevor Blevins at all about, maybe things he's learned? I know, obviously you were at the Centennial Cup in 2022. The first time it was like 10 teams and this long and this much.
Right.
There with is there anything that you've changed, that you've done different, both in terms of, preparation the last couple of days and also your planning for what this whole tournament will look like for you guys?
I haven't talked to Blevy yet. I mean, I am planning on doing that. Yesterday was an extremely long day. Yeah. I mean, the last couple days have been. They had us flying out of Regina. So hey, we got to go the Manitoba route again. All 3 series we went the Manitoba way. So why change it now? So hopefully that's a good omen for us. We had to get down to Regina and then flew out yesterday at noon. We're at the airport by 9 o'clock and, didn't get into our hotel till about 1 o'clock local time here. So it was an extremely long day. There's a lot of preparation that's gone into this already, though. I got a great staff who's worked really hard, and, we know what to expect here.
Speaking of the Manitoba way, had my first chicken chef experience, Mike, at the P.E.I. when we were driving through the P.E.I. It was good. It was good. It was pretty good. Let's talk about, you said lots of prep. Obviously, that's important to get as much as you can. It's almost like cramming for a final exam, hey? Like, you don't know these teams all year. You're focused on these 11 other teams all year, and then all of a sudden, I got to talk about all these other leagues. When you've been doing that prep, obviously game 1 is against the Quebec team, and you have some Quebec guys on your roster. I'm going to assume that that's maybe a nice way to start things off, just looking at it that way, to get those guys a chance to maybe get some of that animosity out of their system right away. But when you look at that first opponent, what's on your mind? Like, what kind of stuff are you looking at with them?
Well, it's kind of nice that we do have 4 guys from Quebec that are familiar with a lot of their players. Actually, they've got a really good player that we were trying to recruit, and he chose to go there, unfortunately. But it also helps when we've got one of our scouts that's from Quebec. So we've definitely got a lot of input on the team.
Sure.
I mean, I've been recruiting out of Quebec for a long time, so I know what type of players come out of there and what to expect. Their power play can be really dangerous if you give them time and space. They like to roll and look for one-timers, and we're going to have to get into shooting lanes and do a good job of blocking shots and making sure that we're taking their strengths away and try to force them to play bomber hockey. I think the one thing that we're really excited about is I can't wait to see some D-men the first shift against when Landon Alexander and Rhett Ewan are coming down on them. So I don't think a lot of these teams have seen a couple boys like that. And obviously we've got a few other guys. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle that.
I think Wyatt Stinton is also looking forward to that as well.
Well, his 2 big brothers take care of business. Gotta love that. When you look at Group B here, Mike, you got obviously Longueuil, you got Truro, you got Sudbury, and of course the Toronto Patriots. When you look at that group as a whole, what comes to your mind?
A lot of good teams, different style of hockey though. Definitely between the four teams, there's a lot of different styles. I think that with Sudbury, this is I think their third straight trip to the Centennial Cup. I think that they probably have learned a lot from their experiences. I think they got four guys that this is their third time being at it, and I think that could be a scary opponent. I think that if any team's going to take them lightly, they're going to be in trouble. So I think for us, it's taking one game at a time. And again, I said it earlier, is you can't start slow at tournaments like this. So getting off to a good start would be huge for us. We'll worry about each opponent as we get to them. I mean, we've already pre-scouted them, but you also are going to get some live versions to see maybe how other teams attack them or defend each opponent, and always trying to learn.
Mike, fun question, I guess, if you want to call it that. But does your hotel have a water slide? And given your scheduling of these games, have you had the no water slide on or the day before game days for those noon games? Because you don't want those boys' legs getting tired on the water slides.
We don't have a water slide here,
good.
but we've got an ocean right out the front window here. There is a pool here, but I think that our guys know that if they get caught in there, that they're probably, especially with as many guys that are available to play, that might be a good way to make some decisions for me. But we got a little bit of time this morning to kind of get our bearings a bit. I walked, there's a boardwalk right out front here, and I went for a nice walk along the ocean and just checking out some of the scenery around here and trying to, like I said, get our bearings here. And the nice thing is we've got a couple days to practice here and really feel comfortable going into game one.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned game one. Game one, and I believe it's game three, are noon puck drops, and obviously players are such creatures of habit. Is there an emphasis that you make, or a point that you make, or a detail that you look for to try to get guys ready for, maybe a different, puck drop start time than they're used to?
Yeah, and just for those listening and watching, 9 a.m. Saskatchewan time.
9 a.m. Saskatchewan time.
Or
noon,
10
for Mike and the boys.
10 a.m. in Flin Flon. So just to
10 a.m.
make
in
sure.
Flin Flon.
Yeah, we don't want to get confused.
Well, we practice every day in Flin Flon at 10:30, so nice. We should be accustomed to being on the ice at that time, and it's different for sure. But I've always said excuses are for losers, and we're not going to make any excuses about our time. I think when we were in Estevan, we played every night game because it was SJHL, except for one, maybe. I think we had a 4:00 game in Estevan as well. I mean, that was nice, obviously, but with us traveling and being so far away, I mean, honestly, if you can't get up to play in a national championship game, then you probably shouldn't be here. So the time is what it is. Our opponents have to play at that time as well. So we'll just focus on being ready to play.
For sure, Mike. Last one from me. Kind of a two-parter. One is, I'm assuming you've heard from and talked to a bunch of people. How many people from Flin Flon, Bomber Nation, are you expecting to be in P.E.I? And second part of that is, do you guys have sort of team plans to go out and do things to get your mind off of hockey just a little bit while you guys are there?
Well, I'm expecting with parents and then fans and family, about 100 people.
Wow.
That's
awesome.
Is what we're thinking. There's actually quite a few people from Flin Flon that are living on the East Coast now. Nice. Actually, a former Bomber that played in the Royal Bank Cup, Jarvis Loga, he's going to be at the games. Cole Refuse is coming. Leighton Carruthers, some ex-Bombers that are out here. So that's going to be really nice. And then, sorry, what was the second question?
The second one was,
anything off
the Mustangs
ice.
Went to a Blue Jays game and things like that. Is there anything that you guys are going to do to try to take your mind off hockey?
Well, we were supposed to go golfing tomorrow. The staff was anyways, but it looks like it's 95% chance of raining. So the weather doesn't look great here right now, but when you're on the ocean, that can change pretty quick here. We have looked into a couple things. We're just gonna see if we can squeeze it in, and then obviously the weather as well. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to play hockey. We're here to try to bring a championship back to Saskatchewan. Um, we will do some sightseeing around this area. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully the weather holds up here a little bit, but there's a nice boardwalk right along the ocean that we were planning on walking to the rink maybe today instead of busing. I think it's about a 15-minute walk, so might be nice to get the boys out and just breathe that salt air.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good for you. It's good for you. Make sure you get a lobster roll in you too at some point, Mike. They're pretty good out there. That's what I've heard.
And potatoes.
I've been out there.
Yeah, people love potatoes.
Well, yeah, that's huge. It's literally huge. Yeah, it's huge there.
That's the thing.
Potatoes. All right, Mike. Well, we'll let you get going because I know you got lots to do. So thanks for joining us today. Appreciate the time. And obviously, best of luck here going forward for the next few days.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. We're just about to load the bus up and go for our first practice here. So the guys are pretty excited. And, you know, now she gets going here. So thanks very much. And thanks to everybody in Saskatchewan for all the support. And hopefully we can make you guys proud.
Absolutely. There he is. Mike Reagan. Congrats again on the championship season, but he's not done yet.
No.
Not done yet. All right, Neugsie, why don't we quickly try to go around the tournament a little bit here and look at some of the teams that we're going to see. Because obviously we, as a fan base here in Saskatchewan, don't all follow closely a lot of these leagues. And why don't we kind of give a little bit of a snapshot at least on the other teams quickly? Because I believe, is our next guest in here?
He is, yeah.
He is. Okay, so let's do this really quick. Dave, if you can hang on, we'll try to get this.
Well, why don't we do like the Bombers group, and then we'll talk to Dave, and then we'll do the other
one. Sure, let's do that.
We got some time.
Okay, so let's start with college. College Français de Langue.
Longueuil Collège Français. Like they were in Estevan as well, and they were there a couple of years ago as well in Oakville, and you know, They
are the shield-looking team logo there in the bottom right.
Yeah, not the T, but to the left of the T, C and F. 239 goals in 48 regular season games this year. As I said, had a rough time in 2024. So you heard Mike say you got to start on time if you're the Bombers, because these guys are going to come out hard. Gabriel Letoile, their captain, was there in 2024 and didn't go so well. They swept Beauce in the Quebec finals. The last two games were shutouts. And so these guys can play defense too, as well as offense. There's lots of Quebec League experience, led by Isaiah Perron, had 10 goals in 13 playoff games. He's committed to Concordia. But, I talked a bit there before about, the CJHL Goalie of the Year race. Mathis Lacroix-Goulet, who has played games with Acadie Bathurst and Victoriaville in the Q. He had a monster season, a monster playoffs, 142 goals against, a 946 save percentage in the playoffs in 13 games. As I said, he was the starting goalie as well for them a couple of years ago. Now he's back as a 20-year-old. So again, very experienced team. So he was there at a rough Centennial Cup a couple of years ago. So he'll be back with a vengeance. And Jonathan Castonguay has been their coach for a long time. So again, Mike and the boys should not take them lightly for a second. They're going to be very good. All right, let's go back to that graphic. The Truro Bearcats. I spoke to Noah Poirier, the Truro Bearcats broadcaster. He's
there at the bottom
nice guy.
Right there.
Bottom right. They won the Maritime League they're the Maritime League champions. They tied Summerside, the hosts, with points this year in the regular season in the Maritime League. Gritty and balanced. They scored a lot less, but than Summerside, they gave up less too. The Truro Bearcats are going to be very stingy. They're going to be very, very organized and disciplined and tough to beat. I think this is going to be a very interesting. This is the matchup that the two teams are going to be the most similar between Flin, Flon, and Truro in the group stage. I and many people were very excited to see their young goalie Sam Bertome, 6'5", 2009 goalie. He's supposed to be an NHL prospect. Played for Canada's U17 team this year. He is hurt, and the expectation is he won't be available to play. So fellow rookie Luca Connolly might carry the load. The understanding is that they had a 1B, 1A situation anyways this year, so he'll have to carry the load, but I was hoping to see Bertome play, but not going to work out. He got hurt. I talked to Edmundston Blizzard forward Nick Jean, the name you might remember, former Notre Dame Hound and Warman Wolverine, played for Edmundston, who Truro beat in the final, and he said, he got hurt in warm-up in the finals,
no.
so that's too bad. But again, lots of Q experience, always in the Quebec League and the Maritime League. There's always a lot of Q experience. Antoine Fontaine is a name to write down. 7 goals in 14 games in the playoffs. He had 135 regular season games so far in the Q in his career. So very experienced guy, mostly with Halifax. But talk about elite young D-men in this tournament. Jaden Connors.
Okay.
Jaden Connors, remember that one when you take on Truro? He's committed to New Hampshire, Division 1. He played for the Sudbury Wolves a couple times this year for Scott Barney.
Okay.
But Jaden Connors is a superstar, and he's going to be a superstar for Truro in this tournament. Callum O'Coin as well, former Cape Breton and Halifax player in the Q, exploded in the playoffs for 10 goals in 16 games. He played 24 Q playoff games as well to go with 100-plus regular season games. That's broken record for this Truro, Summerside, and Longay team. Lots of Q experience there. So again, they should be a very tough team to beat. They're comfortable, just like the Bombers, with a 2-1 game.
Nice. And that is the 4th game. That's on Wednesday next week.
Yes, that's right.
So College Francais de Lengue tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And then that Truro team, we'll see them on Wednesday.
That's their only evening game.
Right.
That's the only primetime game for the Bombers in the group stage.
Let's, without gloating about them too much, Neugsie, I'm obviously kidding, but the Toronto Patriots, that's our Saturday opponent here, game 2.
Well, that is, I mean, again, if you were guy to circle a game in the group stage to be like, boy, this will be interesting. This will be tough.
Yeah.
Like, and the Bombers can beat anybody, I have no question. But if there's going to be a team that is built for firepower in this tournament, the Patriots and the Rockland Nationals on the other side are the 2 teams with the most firepower. Again, I could talk about the Patriots for a long time, so I'll try not to. Vince Bellissimo, their coach, has been in the OJHL for a long time. Great guy, great coach, wins everywhere he goes. Terrific coach who's with the Toronto Junior Canadians for a while.
Sure.
They don't exist anymore. But anyways, Bellissimo's their coach, does a great job. Their GM, Blake Ricci, is a really good friend of mine, so I've talked to him a bunch. Their superstar, their rock stars, Luciano Bruno, forward committed D1 to Clarkson. He's from my hometown, Vaughan, of course. Skilled little forward. I was talking to Mike Reagan a bit about Bruno, and we were talking about how he's sort of maybe a souped-up version of Jai Zawatsky.
Okay.
But really, really skilled. Lucas Vaca is maybe the best defenseman in this tournament in terms of offensive production. He was probably the best offensive defenseman in the OJHL this year as well. 24 points, 20 games in the playoffs as a defenseman. This team had a power play clicking at 34.9% in the OJHL playoffs. They beat Newmarket in the finals, but they got lots of firepower. The question mark for me with the Patriots is goaltending. Trey Caracciolo and Nico Armelin kind of split the situation in net this year for them. Trey Caracciolo maybe is their slightly more of their 1A than 1B, but again, just a team that has so much firepower that they can kind of outscore some problems. But they have weapons for days. And then the last team we'll talk about,
Greater Sudbury
is
Cubs.
Greater Sudbury, and you heard Mike talk about them.
The NOJ.
And yes, there's always going to be a question mark around both the NOJ and the SI team, just being like, is their league tough enough to prepare them? Now, that being said, as Mike said, this team has a lot of experience. This team opened a lot of eyes last year in Calgary. They went to the quarterfinals. Melfort hammered them in the quarterfinals, but they were in it for about half of it, and they got lots of firepower, lots of experience. Briar Long, he played only 20 regular season games, but 28 points in 11 playoff games, 10 of them goals. So he's a guy to watch, Briar Long. Nolan Newton was their leading scorer this year, but didn't play in the playoffs, 91 points. So I think there might have an injury situation there, but their goalie, Ian Wintle, is committed to Guelph in U Sports. So again, talented kid. He's just from east of Toronto, didn't lose a game all year.
Oh.
So that's good. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Ian Wintle. So the Sudbury Cubs, lots of firepower, lots of experience, as I said. Again, you don't want to get behind. And that's the thing about this Bombers team against any of these teams is if they get behind, can they rally? And obviously there's a lot of depth on this Flin Flon team. but I think this Clinton team is more built to play with the lead and to play in tight games.
Sure.
And again, there's lots of weaponry, especially on the Patriots and the Cubs. Maybe Churro and Collège Français will be a little bit, maybe lower scoring, kind of grittier games, stingier, but lots and lots of firepower for those two. Group B should be very tight. Like it isn't like the group of death maybe, but it is going to be like all the teams. Like it could end any kind of standing in order, and it wouldn't surprise me. The Patriots are probably the favorite in the group. Just because of their depth and firepower,
because you used
and
to
because
work
I'm
for them.
biased.
Yeah.
But again, the Bombers are right there, so it should be fun. If it looks like the Bombers want it to look, then they'll be fine against anybody.
Fair enough. Okay.
That's Group B.
We'll talk about firepower. We're going to bring in some firepower right now to tell us a little bit more about our Manitoba buddies from Niverville. Dave Anthony joins us now, voice of the Steinbach Pistons, but he's going to help us talk about a little bit about Niverville. Dave, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, appreciate you jumping on.
Thrilled to be here, boys. Always a pleasure when we get to chat on a national stage level, right? It's an exciting time for everyone.
For sure. Manitoba was a league that I had an eye on a lot this year, just trying to figure out what was going on over there. And Niverville was, man, were they good start to finish. Let's just start with them, obviously. Tell me about the makeup of this roster and how they ended up being as good as they were.
You know, that's such a great way to start because the way that Junior A is now, you're never really sure what you're going to kind of get year over year. And for Niverville to retain, I think, 17 players from last year's club that got knocked out in round one to eventually, carrying over into this year and winning a championship. Plus, they added a few MJHL guys as well. That cohesiveness made such a massive difference for Niverville from the jump. And it was such a big advantage for them because they knew Dwight Hurst's system. They knew the league. They knew what they needed to do because they've been through it a couple times. They've got some 4-year guys. Like, we forget that this team's only been in existence for 4 years. So, they've got a handful of guys that were there from year one. So they've got the chip on their shoulder, and they kind of brought that in to this year, and nothing ever overwhelmed them. And that speaks to maturity, that speaks to leadership, and it's been a slow transition. It hasn't been that way from year one to year four. Dwight Hurst has really come in. Mike McCauley, the great group around this team, has really done a good job instilling character, a lot of leadership, and it's really paid off this year. And like I said, it just started from having so many guys bought in right away, didn't have to learn a system, didn't have to learn the rink or the community or the league. They were right there, and that was massive, and they just carried it through the entire year. They were as close to unstoppable as we've seen, going back to those Portage Terrier teams for the Manitoba Junior Hockey League when they hosted and won nationals, when they went on that run with some of the top talent in the country. This is as close to a team we've seen as complete from back then.
Okay, I've got 3 yes or no questions for you. So just a yes or a no I'm looking for these 3 questions.
My favorite kind of answers.
Great. Should Dwight Hurst be the CJHL Coach of the Year? Yes or no?
Well, I would say yes, but that's because I like Dwight a lot, and I think what he's done has been not just this year, it's been a build over time. And I can't speak to the other coaches in the category, which again, if you're in that category, there's a reason. You're a spectacular coach. But for me, Dwight Hurst is, I'm sorry, I know you wanted a yes or no answer, but I'm going to elaborate. Dwight Hurst is an incredible person who puts character and integrity on top of skill. And to me, it's not just about what you do with the team in the moment, it's what you do with the group going forward. So whether it's an organizational standpoint where now the bar has been risen because of Dwight Hurst, or what these young men are going to do as people and as hockey players going forward, they're better because of what Dwight Hurst did. So to me, that in the grand scheme of things would make him Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
That was a better answer than a yes or no.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
I like the sound of my own voice.
Well, hey, we all do. We're broadcasters. That's part of the gig. Is Austin Dubinsky the CJHL Goalie of the Year?
I'm going to say no, only because there's obviously, again, incredible goaltenders, and he's going to be right there, and he should be. The team defense in front of him does a really, really great job. Austin Dubinsky is an incredible goaltender when it comes to stopping the puck. He's a great battler, but the Nighthawks defense in front, they clear a lot of that secondary garbage out. So yes, there's spurts where he's got to show off that incredible athleticism, but the defense really does help to avoid making that incredible save. So he maybe won't get the credit he deserves because he is an incredible goaltender, because he's not forced into those, oh my goodness, I can't believe he saved that kind of stop consistently. And that's a large part thanks to the defense of the Nighthawks.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we discussed Charlie Tritt with Flin Flon as well. Like, yes, he had otherworldly numbers all season long, but at the same time, when we watched him play in the finals against Yorkton, it's like, man, like, the team in front of him is just doing such a good job.
Well, Charlie doesn't make any problems for himself either.
Charlie, well,
his rebound control is insane.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
But that's
a
another
big
conversation
thing too.
Yeah.
And you know what? Watching the guys handle the puck at the Nationals this year is also going to be phenomenal to watch, right? Because if you're a puck handling goalie, you're like a secondary breakout option back there. If you struggle as a goaltender to move the puck, or if you, like you said, if pucks are bouncing off you and you're not controlling it, that's the difference between, you know, finishing high in the round robin or moving on or not, right?
Yeah. Okay, then my last yes or no question, I guess. Is this the best MJHL team we've seen since the 10-team Centennial? So since, I guess, this decade, we'll say.
I would say from top to bottom, it's probably the most complete team that the MJHL is going to be sending. With all due respect to the other teams, and, you know, Steinbach was part of that a couple of years ago when they went. The Winkler Flyers were a big, bruising, skilled team. Niverville's built different mentally and physically. They're very fast. They're incredibly deep lines, 1 through 4. They can beat you on any given night. I mean, their captain, Adam Vigvason, just kind of looking at the stats, he had a very quiet 19 points in 13 games. And he is one of, 9 guys to hit double digits on a team that lost 1 playoff game. So that should tell you all you need to know about the depth of this team. And whether you're scoring or not, it's just they're completely bought into what they need to do to win and be successful. Now, they can do it in the MJHL. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they go up against teams that can boast the same thing. When you are going up against a 2 or 3 line team, it's different than a 4 line team. So now you're looking at the depth of defense. Are you going to have to shield a third pair? Are you going to need to shelter a 4th line? Niverville doesn't need to do that, I don't believe. So that makes them the most dangerous and complete team that we've seen in quite some time, where the MJHL's got a really good representative at this national showcase.
Okay, so I'm looking at the roster here as I kind of scroll through some things, and the one name that's standing out on the website because his bio picture is different than everybody else's is Marlon Edwards. And Marlon Edwards was a guy that they acquired at the trade deadline, technically from Norman, but really from the NAHL's Minot Minotauros. I've got to watch my language here, but he lit it up. I was going to say a different word to describe that, but 39 points for him in 26 games after the trade deadline. Was that something that put this team over the top? Were they already set up for success if he hadn't shown up and done that? Or was he like that spark plug that really took them to that level that they're at now?
No, they were set up pretty well to be dominant going forward before that addition, but putting Marlon Edwards into this lineup is just like, it's hard to find an analogy other than you're having cake and eating cupcakes while in a hot tub. I mean, life is just so great and grand because he just lengthens it out so much. He made the power play more lethal. And the little details too, not only the power play, but if you're down a goal late, he can score a goal off of a face-off play. I've seen it where he just kind of comes off the wall, gets a puck, scores 2 seconds later. He's a guy that is demanding attention every time he's out there, so that frees everybody else up. He had an incredible year. He had a kind of an interesting playoffs as well. Didn't actually score through the first series. I think he just piled up a bunch of assists, and then he ends up finding the back of the net a few times in that game against Verdun. He's a guy that, along with Aaron Krestanovich and Tyler Bernier, came from that Blizzard system that won a championship last year. So they're one of the very few repeat champions in Junior A at the Manitoba Junior Hockey League level, at least. So he comes in with some experience. He knows what it's going to take. He's 19 now, so he's built different. He can shoot the puck like few can, and he's just a dog. And he's going to be a big time X factor for Niverville. But again, if you're focused on him, all of a sudden Hayden Wetton, Merrick Bowles, Panzer, Leduc, John Scott, it's like, well, who are you going to cover? You only have so many options, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Really appreciate your time. Last one for me then, and I got to ask you, obviously not in the same group, but and they're quick to say, and they certainly represent us, the Flin Flon Bombers, but for the province of Manitoba, I know Wob Canoe was, giving props to the Bombers. I know he was, props to you guys. It's a pretty exciting time to just be a hockey fan in Manitoba, given, both Flin Flon and Niverville, you can kind of represent, those teams as well.
Guys, I think it's easy for hockey fans and communities to kind of hyper focus on their teams, but when you take a step back, and we're really lucky to understand what this means for the greater picture when it comes to junior hockey. Niverville winning 4 years into their existence in a Manitoba Junior Hockey League, where again things turn over and things can get crazy. For the consistency, that is great. For Flin Flon to win, I know how much they desperately wanted a championship, so that's fantastic as well, right? When you look at the big picture of hockey in Manitoba and Saskatchewan, this is vital, because you need different champions at times. You need different programs to have success, because you need players to go to those places. So when a Flin Flon wins, when a Niverville wins, when you're getting to the finals, you're getting to the second round, and they're really good series, it's great for hockey. And yes, when your community gets knocked out in the first, second, or you lose in the finals, it's not great. But when you take a step back, you can cheer on your provincial representative, because you want the league to do well. And yes, Flin Flon is technically part of Manitoba, but sorry, boys, you're claiming them. They're SJHL.
Oh, yeah.
We're going for the Manitoba team here in Niverville, and that's where our allegiances are. But yeah, it's great for junior hockey in the prairies, and interesting for the future. So we don't know what the junior hockey landscape is going to look like in 1, 3, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, it could change very drastically. So the more communities that have an opportunity to boast championships, the more communities that are invested into their team because they have a chance to win, the better.
Okay, I think Neugsie, you got all yours
good,
in.
yeah.
So last one for me then, and then we'll let you go, Dave. Is give me your outlook on this tournament. Like, what are you thinking in terms of group stage? What are you thinking in terms of chances for?
Are you asking him
finals?
predictions?
No, I'm just saying give me your thoughts on Niverville.
Using the P word?
I'm not saying necessarily predictions.
Okay,
I'm just saying give me your thoughts on the tournament for Niverville. What do you think their chances are here? How are we looking?
Well, I was on the call about 10 when you guys started doing the breakdown of the other side, and I will say I was a lot more confident before I heard you guys start talking, because there is a bit of a cone of silence around when you're kind of focused on your own league,
right.
And you're kind of you pick out, okay, the AJ is going to be strong, the SJ is going to be strong, but you kind of don't know what the Ontario teams, the East Coast teams are going to do, and then you start delving into it, and you're like, okay. Every team is fantastic.
Yeah.
Every team has got goaltending, defense, forwards that can score, forwards that can defend, and coaching. I don't want to say I've underestimated Niverville, but it's been one of those years where it's always been like, okay, they're great now, but can they continue? Yes, they can. Okay, they're great now, but in the playoffs, can they find a way to win?
Right.
Yeah, they can. And they can do it different ways, whether it was dominating from start to finish, or whether it was scoring late. And a neat fact for you guys, Niverville has scored the opening goal in the first 5 minutes, I think, more than 10 times. They've scored the opening goal really quickly a lot. So they put teams on their heels.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting thing to see if they can do that. They push really hard, and then they force other teams to adjust. I think that it's very conceivable that Niverville is in that final game. I don't know who it would be up against. I think they're in a tough pool, but there's some winnable games there, and this team just finds a way. And I know that they're in P.E.I. already. I know that Dwight Hurst has got a really nice kind of balance, at least the way what he's spoken, of prepping for the opponent, but also keeping an eye on what his team needs to do to be successful. Because we've seen it, boys. If coaches over prepare and you're so stressed out about what the other team's going to do, you take away from what makes your team special. And I think Dwight Hurst, Mike McCauley, the group around Niverville, very focused on what they need to do. So I can very much see them being in the one of the top 2 teams standing at the end of the Centennial Cup. And that's despite all the horrific things that you guys were talking about that scared me very much.
Wait till I talk about Group A, buddy. Wait till I talk about Group A.
Group A.
Stay tuned.
And then, so interesting point for you guys, because I got a question for you now, if we've got time for it.
Of course.
Looking at the schedule, it's always like, it's not just who you play. Do you guys believe that the time of the games matters as well, and that can really factor into when or how a team performs at the Centennial Cup?
Well, it seems like whenever tournaments in the West host always gives the Eastern teams really bad start times. And when it's in the East, the Eastern host always gives the Western teams really bad start times, which is fair. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But we talked to Mike Reagan just minutes before you jumped in here, Dave, and he said, hey, look, we practice at 10:30 a.m. every single day. So our guys are used to putting their skates on in the morning. And I was like, okay, is there a water slide at your hotel? Because is there a rule in place, no water slides the night before game day on those 12 o'clock start times?
Mike rules with an iron fist.
Yeah, he said, nope, no water slide, we're good. So I was like, okay, good.
Iron fist.
But yeah, no, I think it's definitely one of those things, Dave. It's fun. It's fun as for fans, for us, for viewers, to think back to our days growing up as, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds going to these tournaments, playing a game at 9 and then playing again with wet gear at 2 in the afternoon or whatever it is. And that's kind of the way it is. It's bringing these boys back to their youth. So I think we all forget too, Dave, that these are, at the end of the day, these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They can handle it.
Yeah.
they can handle it.
Look, I mean, I think it's bigger to be in that semifinal and get that bye and not have to play 3-3 at the end. But I mean, again, and to that point, sorry to bring up, if there's any Estevan Bruins fans listening, sorry to bring up the 2022 Centennial Cup.
Right.
The Bombers, the Bruins had every
night game,
everything that they kind of would have wanted, and they had a tough Centennial Cup. So
right. Yeah.
Hey, show up the beef you got.
Every team that's going into this tournament is feeling good about where they're at, right? And it can turn really, really quickly. If you get off to a sluggish start in games 1 and 2, you're behind an 8 ball really quick. And I know that Niverville's got the Thunder Bay North Stars game 2. I believe it's 10 a.m. Our time. So that's going to be, that's a huge test, because on paper, Niverville should win that game, but does it even out because of the time?
Right.
That's a game you can't lose, right? If you're Niverville, there's certain games you can't lose. That's one of them. So we'll see. I mean, the first 2 games can tell a lot, and it's going to be fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Sure.
Well, Dave, I just wanted to make one mention. I noticed the Matthew Gomerchik jersey behind you. I just wanted to give a shout out there. Nice little touch. And I really appreciate your time. And the best part about bringing Dave in is that
the beard?
Well, his beard's fantastic. But the best part is he's not even biased. He's not a Niverville employee. No. He's given us the raw analysis, and I appreciate that. So, Dave, I really always appreciate your time and love what you're doing over there. Keep it up, and we'll chat again soon, I'm sure.
Same to you, boys. You guys are the bar that we're trying to live up to as well over here when it comes to content and promoting the league. So thanks for blazing the trail, and we're going to try and follow you here on our side. So thanks for leading the way.
Well, we love what you do, too. So good job. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
There we go, Dave Anthony. Steinbach Pistons.
Hey, Swarzy, Eric Swar. Shout out, Eric Swar. The media guy, business guy for the Manitoba League, and also does a lot for the CJHL, who's going to be out in P.E.I, by the way. He said, and I can quote this, I think, this is the best that the MJ has felt about a team going to the Centennial Cup in a long, long time.
Well, Dave even kind of alluded to, since
and
those
Dave had to be political.
Super teams.
Yeah, Dave had to be careful.
Yeah.
Because he works, he covers Steinbach.
Yeah.
It's,
there's rivalries. Say too many nice things.
Can't say too many nice things about Niverville, but they feel really, really good about this team.
Yeah. And,
and having Kristanowicz, who obviously we know around here, former Regina Pat, and Marlon Edwards, who we saw with Norman, etc. Having that experience is big. So
yeah, exactly. And I loved his answer on that addition of Marlon Edwards was just like, it just took them
bunch of SJ connections. Of course, we can jump right back here to preview.
Yeah, sure. If you want to, well, I was going to say let's look at their pool, but if you want to just quickly go over the SJ connections, and we can. Well, go from there.
I could do that part of talking about Niverville quickly here. Obviously, you got to shout out Thomas Phillips.
I was going to say
former
Thomas
Kindersley
Phillips.
Clipper. Parker Carrier, Jace Konechny, Renat Naniev. List kind of goes on. And Ben Tornamids in net, who is a Notre Dame high school kid, not Notre Dame junior hound, but there you go. Shout out to those guys. But and obviously Jake Damone, who is on Melfort as well. I think he was part of that Luke McKenzie trade the other way.
Him, I think. Right.
There you go. But obviously, you heard it there. Let's throw up the Centennial Cup graphic there again with the teams. If you guys don't mind. Group A. If I were to pick a group of death.
It's their group.
It's them, and sorry to Thunder Bay, but other than Thunder Bay, Niverville, Summerside, Rockland, and Canmore are very serious. And obviously, the whole tournament is going to be on a nice edge. I think.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be very small margins. So you look at the Niverville Nighthawks; they're dead center, right under the Centennial Cup logo.
I love that logo, by the way.
Mike McCauley was part of.
A little touch on that logo. Can I just cut you off for 2 seconds? Look at the logo. The color scheme is fantastic. I love the color scheme. But on the Hawk's neck, there's 2 N's. Did you notice that before?
I didn't. It's
great. The Niverville Nighthawks.
You're a good noticer of things.
It's logos. You got to sometimes they sneak in stuff.
Yeah. Well, anyways, Austin Dubinsky, certainly a goalie of the year candidate. Looking at, my understanding is he's been looking hard at some very, very top D1 programs.
Wouldn't be surprising.
So he's, and Mike McCauley, of course, was the GM of Team Canada West at the Junior A World Challenge. So we got to know him in Martinsville when they were doing that camp. So obviously we've got lots of great connections with the MJHL, and usually if it's not our team that we're going to win, we usually root for the MJ. So there you go. And obviously Kevin Surratt, shout out their commissioner, and our commissioner Kyle have great relationships. So the Niverville Nighthawks, they'll be good. They'll be deep. Obviously, again, Marlon Edwards, terrific player. Merrick Bowles, committed to the University of Regina. So we'll be seeing him around as well. And again, lots of firepower, lots of depth. But then it's always that question of, does it carry over? And that's kind of the bottom line.
Let's save Canmore to the end, and we'll transition that into talking to Dave Dawson.
Sure. So we'll jump.
But let's
we'll jump to what a lot of people think is the favorite, the Rockland Nationals. At this thing, and
the CCHL.
The CCHL champions, Ottawa area. Can we throw up that graphic again with the logos, if you guys don't mind? The thing about the Rockland Nationals is, and it's just like some of the other teams at this tournament, they are wonderful, and I'll get into that in a second.
Connor's sleeping at the wheel back
there. Throw up the graphic.
Logos.
The CJHL logos, the Centennial logos.
It's coming. There it is.
There it is. The Rockland Nationals looking like the Maple Leafs or whatever. They're at the
red
bottom.
Maple Leafs.
Besides the Patriots, who have rebranded since I worked for them, by the way, the Patriots.
It's a nice
logo
mention
too. That.
Yeah.
But the Rockland Nationals, they're a wonderful team. They play in the CCHL, not the strongest league in the world right now. So there's that. But again, can't take too much away from them. Gabriel Lehoulier, we've talked about him before. Leading scorer in all of the CJHL, 120 points in the regular season, 33 points in 13 playoff games. Maverick Brunet, who we also saw in Calgary last year. Rockland could have easily gone to the finals last year as well, and almost beat Calgary last year at the Centennial Cup in the playoffs. Over 100 points. Caden Newton in net. He's 18 years old, former draft pick of the Guelph Storm. So interesting that they've gone with a bit of a younger goaltender, but if he stops the puck, who cares? They got a plus 159 goal differential in the regular season in the CCHL, plus 32 in the playoffs. Justin Ferreira, I spoke to him a little bit last year in Calgary, their coach. Maybe a Coach of the Year candidate as well, as you can bring it back to us here in the studio. He's an outstanding coach. They're a really well-coached team. They're very fun to watch. They're very structured, and they are a very, very good hockey team. But the question is always, yes, you ran over the CCA.
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
I guess to that point, just touch on it really quickly. We've talked about this a few times over the years. Every time we do this show, the Centennial Cup preview show, we have to always kind of just throw, not an asterisk, but like a qualifier that, hey, some of these leagues out east are very top heavy.
Yes.
And there are leagues out west, for example. We talked to Dave Anthony how we just never quite know what we're going to get. There's a ton of parity out here in the SJ this year. We talked about it ad nauseum about how where there was 10 teams that were playoff worthy teams this year out of 12. In the Alberta League, there's 6 or 7 really good contending style teams. In Manitoba this year, there was 5 or 6 very, very good teams. But out east, we more often than not,
the OJ, you put another asterisk because there's just so many teams.
there's a lot of teams. Some of these leagues have very few teams. Some have one powerhouse team that wins 50 games and one team that loses 50 games.
Yes.
Some leagues have teams where 3 of the teams are full of 17 and 18-year-olds, and 3 of the teams are full of 20s and 19s. It's a very different world out east.
Yeah.
So,
but
not an asterisk because they're
But this
very
Rockland
good teams.
team was great at the Centennial Cup last year.
Right, yeah.
They were more of a whole team effort than relying on Lehulier or Brunet. As good as those guys are, they were very deep, and so they did show they were very good.
Yeah, right.
They didn't.
And
they lost
that's why I said it's not an asterisk; it's a qualifier.
They could. So Rockland, a lot of
still
people,
very
and they
good.
were the number one team in the rankings a lot, and blah blah blah. So there you go.
Yeah.
They deserve a lot of credit, but let's be calm about it.
Just keep an eye on.
It's not like they're
that
going to
aspect.
destroy the Bombers just because this or that or whatever if
Right.
they face each other. I think the Bombers again could match up with absolutely anybody and be totally fine. All right.
Yeah.
The last one before we get to the AJ.
Yeah.
The Summerside Capitals,
The
who were the
hosts.
host team in the Maritime League. They are kind of the what's the right word? They're the evil empire, I guess, in the Maritime League. They're the team that everybody loves to hate in the Maritime League.
They're
year
the
after
New York
year.
Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, they're the Yankees.
Yeah.
They're the only team in Prince Edward Island, of course, in this league. They were plus 62 in the regular season, 232 goals scored, most in the Maritime League. Very different team than the Truro Bearcats. This team run and gun, score, offense. It's kind of what you'd expect from a Maritime League team, I think, generally speaking. They like to go and score, lots of Q experience. They've got 2 brothers from Truro, Elliot and Simon Mullen, who are both superstars out there. In fact, D-man Simon Mullen led them in scoring in the regular season. 68 points in 52 games, came into the University of P.E.I. He's part of the Moncton Wildcats team that was at the Memorial Cup a couple of years ago, so he's got that experience. His younger brother, Elliot, was one of their playoff stars, along with Justin Ouellette. Their goaltender, Colton Bourret, is a really, really talented goalie, picked up from the Cranbrook Bucks of the BCHL during the season as well. So they, again, they got lots of tools. And again, they're playing at home, and it's going to be rocking, and their fans travel well. They traveled really well in Estevan, even when they were in Estevan last little while. And Summerside played the Flin Flon Bombers, and it was maybe the best game that I called at the tournament. At the Centennial Cup. So Summerside always got a little bit firepower. You think about Truro, structured and heavy and defensive, and trying to win 2-3-1, maybe a little bit more like Flin Flon. Summerside wants to get up and score and whatever. And Truro did beat them in round 2 of the playoffs. So if they do meet up in the playoffs at some point, the quarterfinals or semifinals or whatever, I'm sure that would be a big thing for them, for the Maritime League in general. It should be very interesting to see what Summerside looks like. And then the last team before we get to our final interview here, and thank you for bearing with me, and you can tell I love all this stuff, is the Canmore Eagles. And again, there were a bunch of teams in Alberta that people expected to win it, but the one team people expected to win it was the Whitecourt Wolverines. It wasn't the Canmore Eagles, but they beat them in 5 games in the finals. So kudos to Canmore. Andrew Milne has been their coach for a very, very long time, since 2008. What a beautiful place, by the way, Canmore.
Canmore, holy.
Hey, you want to come play
nice.
junior hockey or broadcast in Canmore, Alberta? Yes, I do. Thank you. It is gorgeous. Speaking to some people around there, they do rely on Alexander Schweiwiller, their goaltender, quite a lot, and he is, again, a superstar. And I tweeted out, you talk about the the goaltender there for Longueuil that I talked about, Lacroix Goulet, Dubinsky. You talked about Newton, you talked about Bourret, and the Schweiwheeler. This is such a good tournament for goalies. Like, if you love goaltenders, like, tune in. Obviously, Bertum is the one that I was hoping to see the most, maybe after Charlie, of course. But again, he matches up great with all these guys. The Canmore Eagles were the number one team in the South Division, but the South was seen as the weaker division in the Alberta Junior League this year. They had 68 points. Number 4 in the North, Fort Mac, had 68 points. So there you go. That doesn't mean, Bryce, I will talk as long as I want. Producer Bryce is trying to hurry me here.
No, we're good.
But the Canmore Eagles, Will Ludick, obviously is their star. Really open brand. He played for Canada West, a couple of years ago. He had 19 points in 15 games in the playoffs. Really, really talented guy. Hudson Landmark as well. Canada West power forward. Really big guy. 6 of 7 leading scorers in the AJ playoffs were from the Canmore Eagles as well. And 209 goals for, 270 against in the regular season. So, again, this is a team that, again, will try to stifle you. Maybe defense first, but, again, lots of firepower. If you're going to win the AJ, you need to skate. You need to get out. Maybe they won't like the physicality as much. But, again, Group A is the group of death, I think, and it'll be extremely tight.
All right, well, there's a bit of a look, thanks, Neugsie, on the Canmore Eagles and the rest of Pool A. But to talk about the tournament as a whole and a little bit more about the Alberta Junior League's representatives, let's go out to Summerside. He's in the rink. It's Dave Dawson, everybody. Dave Dawson, of course, part of the broadcast crew on HN Live, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But, Dave, we were just kind of deep diving the Canmore Eagles a little bit. So if you can indulge us a bit, what are your thoughts on this year's representatives out of the Alberta Junior Hockey League?
Well, to be honest, if you look overall, and even in chatting this morning as they were practicing with Andrew Milne, the head coach and general manager there, and Alex Scheivler, the goalie of the year in the AJHL, they embrace the fact that they're one of the teams that's not supposed to be here, right? Like, there were a lot of groups that counted them out. The North Division was a really heavy division this year. Canmore led the South Division, and if you correlate the points across, Canmore has had many points at the top of the South Division as the team in 4th spot did, the final playoff spot in the North Division. So right. Canmore was the group that's not supposed to be here, right? So they've all embraced that. They chatted about that kind of before the finals. And there was some gamesmanship going on with Andrew Milne and Sean Martin, who's the head coach of the Whitecourt Wolverines. And, maybe some clips shared there in social media that Andrew had thought fired the group up a little bit about them maybe not being battle tested. And so, Canmore beats Whitecourt in 5 games and raised some eyebrows across the league. And the lone game Canmore lost to Whitecourt, they had a lead with a minute left. And Whitecourt scored 2 goals and, one in the final minutes. So this Canmore group, there's 9 champions here in a host. Well, 2 of the champions didn't finish first in the league. Canmore was one of them. So I think in a lot of ways on their end, they're embracing that underdog, so to speak. But hey, this is a really deep group. They can roll every line at you. They can score. They have a tendency of giving up quite a few shots, but they have the best goalie in their league and one of the best goalies in the country. So I think Canmore is going to be an exciting group to watch for sure.
For sure. Now, speaking of exciting, obviously that Calgary Canucks team that won it all last year was a very, very skilled, deep team as well. And I don't need to tell you, but how would you compare this Canmore team maybe to that team?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of Western League major junior experience on this Canmore group as well. I think that Calgary group probably had a little more high-end punch. Even when you say that, Cohen Doust was at the top of the league in scoring as well. And I think for Calgary, they were kind of perennially at the top the whole year, where Canmore had some bumps and bruises along the way. They didn't do well the AJHL showcase. They lost 6-1. They had moments where had a hiccup or here or there. They didn't have an easy journey at all in the playoffs. As my phone's ringing, I'm looking down beside me. The Calgary Canucks group in the opening round, that they gave them a run, where Calgary this year wasn't supposed to be as strong, maybe a bit of a hangover year from Centennial. So I think you can compare them, but in a funny way, right? Like you can compare them in the way that Canmore is a bit of an underdog, but if you look at their roster, they still have so much depth. It's so spread out in scoring as the Calgary Canucks were. So they're not the kind that jumps off of paper where you go, hey, you know, Mike Reagan's Flon Bombers 2 years ago. Okay, they're the powerhouse, and they're, you know, maybe as similar where Canmore, they were good as Calgary were last year, but they have quiet depth. They have guys who contribute that might not jump off the page as a Hayden Fechner or those kind of guys did last year for Calgary. So I think, and this year's field as well, in my opinion only, I think might be a bit of a harder and a deeper Centennial Cup than it was last year.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Sean Martin, who's a former buddy of ours in the SJHL here, former coach with the Laurent Ice Wolves. I know Matthew Decker is also a friend of ours. We'll talk about the HN live broadcast in a minute here. Ryder Dembo is a former SJHL guy who's on the Canmore Eagles, kind of top 10 scoring kind of player for them. When you look at the Eagles breakdown in terms of like where they get their production from, what kind of team are we looking at here from your perspective? Is this a high-scoring offensive team? Is this a shut-them-down defensive team? Is it in the middle somewhere? What kind of team are we looking at with Canmore?
I think it's just consistent depth. Like every line they're going to come at you is going to present different things, right? Yep. John Zabo, Mastroianni, you know, Will Ludick, Insinger. You got all these guys. Easton Milne, Andrew's son, contributed quite a bit as well throughout the run, and he got scoring from the backside. And it's interesting. And if you look at the makeup of the group, Casey Black coming into the year, you know, the captain, the defenseman, really good player. He goes down with an injury January 3rd. Andrew goes, oh, shoot, okay, well, I got to make a move here, and I got to pick someone up. Okay, we'll go bring Carter Kowalik and, you know, all this major junior experience. He gets injured. Okay, shoot, well, there's other guys and opportunities to step up. Haruki Morikawa played really well on the backside. And if you look at the scoring depth on the Canmore Eagles, I think there's only 4 players on the roster who don't have double digits in goals, and 3 of them are defensemen.
Right.
Haruki Morikawa, I think, played 15 games, no points. But when I asked Andrew in the pregame chat this morning after skate, Haruki Morikawa was the first player he brought up about how reliable he's been. So, yeah, you know, there are some groups here like the Rockland Nationals. They've got a guy with 120 points, 59 goals, really, really high end, you know, powerful each line. I think each line can check. Each line can put the puck in the net. Each line can bring pace, can hit you. So they're certainly, they have the flashiness, but, you know, there isn't one group that you think I got to match up this line because these are the guys who are going to shut down. And if we shut these guys down, we're going to have success. So they're able to roll at least the top 3 lines for sure, and they're all going to contribute and do it in different ways. Owen Mastroianni got the overtime winner to eliminate the Drumheller Dragons. This is a guy only a couple years out of U18 hockey, and, you know, the Edmonton Oil Kings draft pick as well. So they have enough of those guys that can, you know, present difficulty for you. And you know, without speaking with Sean Martin, I think if I were to talk to him right now, did he maybe underestimate the depth of the Canmore Eagles? I think he'd probably say yes, because you think, okay, there's this guy, that guy we got to shut down. And once we do that, maybe we don't have to worry about these other groups. But Andrew's coached them to, we can all present pace, we can all defend. So I don't know if that answers your question or if I did the typical broadcaster thing, talk myself in circles. But I think the Canmore Eagles group presents enough of a threat with depth and the ability to score. And of course, then after that, you get Alex Shivler, who steals games for you. You might get outshot by 25 shots, but Alex is going to keep the puck out of the net.
Yeah, I talked about this and tweeted about it. Dave, I think you saw my tweet. This is the tournament of the goalie, and there's some real rock stars at this, and obviously Shivler, pardon me, is one of the cream of the crop. I want to talk about 2 guys that obviously Flin Bombers forward Wyatt Stinton will know very well. That's Will Ludick and Hudson Landmark. I love looking at young players coming to this tournament and the future that they might have, and we talk about them down the road. What is the ceiling for those 2 guys? Obviously, Team Canada West. Obviously Ludick maybe played with Stinton, and as did Landmark at Canada West. So talk about those 2 guys.
Yeah, Will Ludick, an incredible athlete. I think that even in talking to Andrew Milne throughout the year, when they were composing Team Canada West for the Junior A World Challenge, there was some potential. Will Ludick wasn't going to be on that team. And like there was, as you guys in Saskatchewan obviously know that, the representation of Saskatchewan has been a little bit lighter over the years. And I'm sure many have felt that should have been. And so just trying to share the load throughout the leagues and get enough guys in there. And I remember Wyatt Stinton, how much I loved watching him. And I believe him and Landmark played on the same line, if I do recall. But I think for Hudson Landmark, he really opened some eyes in the playoffs. A bit, I don't know if I want to say a quieter year, but I think the playoffs is really where you saw him score some clutch goals. His Junior A World Challenge experience I thought was good. Maybe didn't get as much ice time, I think, as maybe he, felt that he could have. Will Ludick at the Junior A World Challenge, snake bitten. So many different times. I thought Will probably should have had 6 or 7 goals based on all the opportunities he had, hitting the knob of goalie sticks and, getting robbed a few times. And I love Will's pace. He played in Brooks there for a little bit, and watching Will since he was a St. Albert Sabre and U15 AAA. I think there might be an opportunity in the Western League for Will Ludick, I believe a 2007 born as well. So still some years there for him. And just with the way things are changing in the Western Hockey League with, the age and NCAA and all those things, I could see Will, with a good performance here. I don't even think he needs to convince anyone else what he can do. His speed alone, Clark, I think is what really surprises me in his motor. He's got those choppy, quick steps, right? Some guys have the long strides. Will is almost like a hamster on a wheel. Once the leg gets going, he just kind of accelerates. So an amicable guy too, a lot of energy. He'll get knocked down and get right back up again. So I could see his ceiling being pretty high for him in a group in the Western League. Maybe consider picking him up for next year.
There you go, Chumbawamba reference there. Get knocked down, get back up
Nothing
again.
like
there you go.
Take a whiskey drink.
Throwback there.
Take a
That song in a while.
Yeah.
Little tub thumping.
Chumbawamba, that's right. Well, I guess you're talking about Hudson Landmark and Wyatt Stinton. Stinton's used to a couple monster guys on his line in Flin, Flon, and Hudson Landmark obviously is a monster kid as well, 6'3", around 200. So there you go. I got to ask you kind of about perception, Dave. Now I know, with Brooks and Spruce Grove and all that stuff, having changed the landscape a little bit, and we don't have to get too much into the politics of it. I don't want to get into.
You don't want to get into the politics,
but I do want to talk
Why
about
not?
perception.
I'm not a big politics fan.
No, we're
not.
We're talking about politics.
I
I just mean that I think a lot of other leagues in the CJHL kind of look at the AJ maybe as the target or as a league that we want to prove that we're just as good as and whatnot. I guess, how do you feel like that vibe is handled and is being handled maybe by the Eagles, coming into this tournament?
Well, and it's because I know I've talked with Justin Pereira, the head coach of the Rockland Nationals. One of the first comments out of his mouth was, I showed our guys that clip of us losing in the semifinal and Hayden Fechner scoring in overtime right after we won the championship. I reminded them of that moment, that feeling, and this is why we're here. Camel Eagles are not the Calgary Canucks, but they are the same league. So I know that there's a target on the back for sure. I think overall, Clark, just because the landscape of hockey and how it's changed so much in Junior A, I think that many could agree that based on the AJHL is still one of the perennial powerhouses in Canada, but it's taken some punches over the last couple of years after everything that's happened. I really do feel that this year, things have kind of leveled out in Junior A in Western Canada, where really it is more of, you can see it as a tier 2 junior, right? For a number of years, you get your guys like your Alex Newhooks and your Kent Johnsons and your Cale McCarrs who are playing Junior A because they wanted to go NCAA or Dylan Holloway's, right? Where they didn't want to go major junior. Now you're starting to see that clearly defined line, the difference between major junior and Junior A. So in that, the AJHL has had the ability now to refocus itself, rebuild itself, and are just as strong. Is there still that target on the back from the years of the Brooks Bandits bullying people? Yeah, I think so, for sure. A lot of the other leagues don't care. Like, oh, boo-hoo, you went through that with the BCHL. We don't care. We want to come and we want to punch you in the mouth. So I'm pretty sure that's kind of still the idea coming in for these tournaments. And I think as for the AJHL, they're still very proud. They've won the national championship last year, and they really only took 1 year off, so to speak. And the Calgary Canucks, not for a very, very well-oiled, powerful James Venn and company, might have had another shot at the national championship in 2024. But I still do feel there's a bit of that. It feels different, though, if I can say that in my own opinion, not as a representative of the league, but just feels different. It feels like every year the AJHL, there's that team that's okay. You are the guys that are ranked number 1 coming in. Here we are. We better drop our gloves and be ready for a fight. Damn, Eagles weren't even in the top 20. Right. So, like, are you maybe the kid that people are like, hey, buddy, good to see you. Knuckle tap. Let's, rather than the top-ranked team, the Calgary Canucks, the Brooks Bandits coming in. It's maybe a bit different if that answers your question in that way. But I still think for sure in a lot of ways there's that target. But Clark and Jamie, I can tell you, as someone who enjoys consuming Junior A, I can't remember the last time I've been this excited about a Centennial Cup and the parity. Just looking at the groups going, there are some teams here that might surprise a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Talk about a perfect segue, because that was leading right into my next question, Dave. And Neugsie and I were talking a minute ago before we brought you in about each pool. And Neugsie's a big soccer guy. So his big thing is pools of death, group of death. If you had to make an assessment, like you just said, it might be really tough right now to do that. But
it's a tournament of death.
It's a whole tournament, I guess. But is there a pool where you think, oh boy, whoever comes out of that is going to have, a lot of luck on their side? Or how do you look at each pool coming into the tournament here?
When I saw the schedule a couple months ago, I thought Rockland Nationals, Niverville Nighthawks, Summerside, and AJHL in the same pool? Are you kidding me? Like, can I sit down with the person who made this schedule? Because it's all based on rankings in the previous year, right?
Yeah.
That was my initial thoughts of it. But as things have kind of moved along, the Toronto Patriots were in the top 5 most of the year. They beat a very good Collingwood Blues team led by one of my good friends, Andrew Campoli, who, for all respect, they could be here as well. You look at the Greater Sudbury Cubs from Northern Ontario. This is Daryl Moxham's 3rd straight trip. I'm looking at their roster going, this guy won a Memorial Cup last year. Champion, nonstop 3rd-year experience. Don't count them out. Mike Reagan, he knows a thing or two about coaching. He knows a thing or two about pressure. Just watching how emotional he was about the opportunity being here. You don't think he's going to be fired up for this experience? For sure. Right? I think that, the SJHL's Thunder Bay group are one of the non-top ranked teams that are here as well. But the SI League has made some strides over the years that I think them and Longueuil are probably the two that you look at and go, well, it's a wait and see. I'm not really sure what they're going to put forward. So, but yeah, you look at Niverville, Canmore, Rockland, for sure. That might be the top heavy end. In Summerside, Billy McGuigan's group. Billy McGuigan's he's done everything in coaching, the international level, literally. And then look at the other side, it's all these games could be competitive. I think the first 2 days in last year's Centennial Cup, we had 3 overtime games and a shootout. So, and it kind of tapered off after that. I really do feel like this Truro team, from what I've heard, they're very defensive, score 2 goals, and then, everyone comes off the bench and just lays up at the blue line and you can't penetrate. They're just a very defensive group. So I'm really excited about what this is going to look like. But again, I thought 2 months ago, that group with Rockland, Niverville, Canmore was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, how's anybody going to get out of that division? And then not really knowing what's going on the other side is the SJ. They always send someone to the finals. So, okay, they're going to be there, right? So, but I think it's wide open.
Yeah.
I think Rockland, it would take a lot of injuries and some pretty irresponsibility to not see Rockland in the Final Four. I would just go out and say that right now, that they're probably the favorite. But other than that, it's pretty wide open.
So I know that you're deep into your prep for this tournament, obviously, as one of the broadcasters. So I know that you might have a good sense of a good answer for this question. But give us a few names that you have kind of circled on rosters across the tournament. It doesn't have to be every team, but maybe just 2 or 3 or 4 guys that you're like, this guy is going to be somebody to watch this weekend and going into next week.
I think Austin Dubinsky at Niverville, their goalie, up for CJHL Goalie of the Year. He is, just the games that I've watched, he is absolutely sensational, and I think he's due. This is his time to shine, and I think for the Niverville Nighthawks, and chatting with their head coach right before this, Dwight Hurst, and he told me that they're the Vegas Golden Knights. They're the misfits. They're the collection of all these cast-offs that are together, and he watched his son play for Northern Manitoba last year in the Centennial Cup, and coming in this year, he said, I'm going to be there next year, and they are.
Yeah.
Austin Dubinsky, I think he's going to put the team on his back. I think he's really due for that. Gabriel Laouillet is probably the one player I thought coming into this tournament who's going to be electric. 59 goals, 120 points to the Rockland Nationals. He was an emotional guy last year. There was a game they were down by a couple of goals, and he was slamming his stick and yelling at the bench and trying to get his guys juiced up, and talking to him before the game and just after practice, about what's better about him this year. And he said it's taken more time to be a complete player. He said coming in his goal is he wanted to be the best player in Canada. That was his goal, and he's up for CJHL MVP and might very well be that. And I think a younger, more mature Gabriel Laouillet might have taken it for granted and might have thought that he was entitled to those breaks. And I really do feel that this is going to be a tournament for him, that he's going to shine. And as we talked about, you set off the top a tournament of goalies, so I'll give you another goalie, Alex Scheivler. I chatting with him with the Camel Eagles, and I may as well go close to home to round out 3 there because I'm on as a representative, so to speak, of the AJHL. Alex has bounced around a bit in the AJHL throughout his career and talked about how much he appreciates as a 20-year-old finishing out his career in junior hockey, getting a chance to play for the Centennial Cup, winning his first championship, and the importance of that experience and what that's going to be for him. And in my opinion, maybe snubbed for a goalie of the year, but there's so many great goalies out there, right? He was an honorable mention. I could see Alex Scheivler really shine in these moments, and such a humble young man. And so, yeah, like you said, Clark, I really do think the goalies are going to shine in this, but if you want offense, Gabriel Laouillet, I imagine, is going to be one worth the price of admission.
For sure. Last one from me, Dave. Again, really appreciate your time. A lot of great insight in there as always. So thank you so much. I got to ask you about working with our good buddy, Matt Decker. I mentioned it on a tweet that to have, I guess, somebody that knows the SJ and been around, a little bit of a friendly voice. Not that you're not that Peter Lubardius and others haven't either. Obviously, Sean Mullen knows us well too, of course. But to have Decker on there is cool. Good young broadcaster. How excited are you to work with him?
Love all the Sasky name drops there. Peter Labardius, Saskatoon Sports Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah, no big
deal.
He's
inducted a little while ago, and
no big
Decker,
deal.
the flexer, as I call him. And Matt Decker is somebody that I've kind of taken under my wing and been coaching him and watching him over the last couple of years. And I call him mini Peter Labardius, just with his brain. And he has that Arash Madani Peter Labardius brain, just the information he can consume, how hard he works. And, it timed out well that he and his wife were, he'd kind of thought, okay, if the Oil Barons maybe make it to the national championship, we'll kind of plan to see where we'll be in my schedule. So he and his wife were thinking of taking a trip out to P.E.I, and it worked that he's going to be out here. So I figured may as well throw him on the air. And his wife, actually, a weird fact, his wife's grandma lives 5 minutes from the rink. So it worked out. They're staying there. It's kind of funny how it all worked out. But Matt is a guy that he's just so humble. He works so hard. I really wish him the best in his journey moving forward. And I'm so excited to, I did color with him for a couple seasons there with the Fort McMurray Oil Barons, and we have quite a bit of chemistry, and always nice to have another Sasky connection in there to represent for sure. So, hey, I lived in Saskatoon for a year, so I got my Saskatchewan blood.
Yep.
Trevor Harris is one of my good buddies. First time in my life, I cheered for the Riders in the Grey Cup. So, hey, it's I do love my Sasky people. But yeah, no, it's going to be awesome. Looking forward to working with Matt and looking forward to bringing all the fun here for you, multi-cameras and replays and all those bells and whistles. I can tell you one thing, though. The time change. We're going to see how that impacts my body. I flew red-eye on Monday night, got 1 hour sleep over the last 24 hours. So I got 12 hours sleep last night. So I'm a big creature of routine. So losing 3 hours sleep might not end up too well with me, but good thing I got guys like Matt Decker who can certainly carry the load.
Well, for those that don't know, of course, Matt Decker was the voice of the Yorkton Terriers a couple of years ago. Also, Dave, your voice sounds unbelievable as always. So don't worry, you sound terrific.
Appreciate that, and don't stop, but please stop. Keep going. No, I'm kidding.
Well, Dave,
it's great to.
Last one for me. We'll let you go on this note, but we asked the other guys as well that we chatted with who are there, Mike, Reagan, and Charlie Tritt earlier on in our show. Is there a couple things that out east you're looking to get into? Are you looking to sightsee? You got some food items on your bucket list you want to cross off? What's on the off ice hockey list for Dave Dawson over the next week and a half?
Well, I tried oysters yesterday for the first time. That was a different experience.
Yeah.
You do what? You put the shell to and then you what?
So good.
And then whoop, it just kind of flies in your mouth.
Sling it back. Yep.
Yeah, you just sling it back. You know, that big long bridge at the edge of P.E.I. Now I've been to 9 of 10 Canadian provinces, none of the territories yet. So I think what's going to be most exciting for me is being able to keep my body on a same sleep schedule, and there isn't going to be a lot of downtime. We have 1 day off, so I know our company president, Corey Bro, is a big golfer, so we're probably going to be hitting the links there for at least 9 holes. And so oysters is off the list for sure. Did that. And then other than that, I don't know. Get to know a lot of people and watch a lot of awesome hockey. And there are a lot more cultured people around me, and I vicariously live through them for culture.
Fair enough.
I'm as traditional as a Western Canadian white boy as you can find, and whatever that means, you can take that for your own interpretation. So, but I'm all about experience and culture.
Well, if you can, one recommendation would be, we were talking about this off air, try to check out the McCain's Potato Factory. And I know that sounds weird. Why would I look at a factory? It's one of the biggest buildings you'll see in your entire life. It's massive. So go check that out and try to get a lobster roll in while you're there too, Dave. Get a lobster roll in, that's my other recommendation.
Promise. Can I bring anything back for you? I mean, if I brought a lobster roll back with you, it might not make it.
Drop it out of the airplane.
Drop it out of the plane,
Yeah,
a little
on the way through.
I'd be down. All right, Dave. Well, enjoy the hockey. I know it all kicks off tomorrow for you, so get some rest for that voice. Get that hot tea ready to go because you got lots of games to call, and we'll be tuned in for all of them. So thanks for checking in with us today.
Appreciate you boys so much. You got a good thing going here. I love watching what you're doing. You guys are both incredible, and really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Thank you. Dave Dawson,
What a
HN
legend.
Live. You'll be hearing his voice a lot if you're watching these games over the next week and a bit. Neugsie, final thoughts to you.
Look, heard a lot of people talk about Rockland.
Yep.
Heard a lot of people talk about Niverville. You heard a lot of people talk about the Patriots.
Yep.
We know,
Yep.
and nobody's slagging the Bombers. I'm not saying anybody slagged
haven't heard
the Bombers.
that yet.
But these
necessarily.
people do not know what it feels like to be in the rink when the puck drops and Landon Alexander and Rhett Ewan have eaten their Wheaties in the morning.
Dude, they love Wheaties.
They've had their pregame nap.
Yep.
Those guys
They're like Louis Varland when he comes out from the bullpen and they slap each other on the back.
These guys don't know what the Bombers are all about until you face them. We know in our league, guys have felt it. You can put whatever superstars, D1s, U Sports, whatever together until those trucks are coming at you. Until you have to go down Pierce Yakimchuk's corner.
Braden Bruce.
Kyle
Marsden.
You have to beat
Nathan
Charlie.
Meunier
They don't know what the Bombers have. And I love that. I love that. The Bombers, I bet, love that. They're going to be rallied. They're going to be rowdy. They're going to be ready to go.
You know what, Neugsie?
This Bombers team is going to be ready. And these guys, the other 9 teams in the league better be because they're in for a treat.
It reminds me of the whole Miracle speech.
Wow.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about how good the Rockland Nationals are. Insert other teams here. It's our time.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
Flin Flon.
I love it. I'm
It's
sure
about to get
Regs
going.
and them love it too.
Let's throw that schedule up one more time and we'll get out of here. It's been a long show. I know everybody. Thanks for tuning in and sticking with us for as long as you have. Of course, it all kicks off 9 a.m. Saskatchewan time. Where are we? Yeah, tomorrow.
The game starts. The tournament starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. Sorry for the
tomorrow.
Bombers, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow. And then Saturday, 1 p.m. in the afternoon Sask time. And then Monday at 9 a.m. again against the Greater Sudbury Cubs. And then Truro on Wednesday at 4:30 Saskatchewan time. And then, of course, the semifinals, quarterfinals, all that stuff the following weekend. Neugsie, appreciate you doing all the work you did to dig on these teams a little bit. Appreciate the Dave Squared for checking in with us today and giving us their insights. Mike and Charlie from the Bombers on the road. The boys in the back, they put a marathon together for this one. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Connor. I don't know if Steven's still sticking around or not, but
He quit.
He gave up. He's back there. He's back there. Appreciate you boys as always. And you guys for listening. We have one more show during this to wrap up this season of broadcasts. On Tuesday, we'll recap games 1 and 2 and 3. We'll recap all 3 games, and then we'll preview game 4. We'll kind of give you a lay of the land as terms of where we are in that tournament and who's where. So it'll be a good show to kind of mid-tournament check-in. We'll hopefully get a hold of a couple of the Bombers. And then after that, we got a few weeks. So these are the last couple of broadcasts. So appreciate you guys tuning in. The SJHL Draft Show will be June 9th. June 9th. It's a Tuesday in the afternoon. That'll be our next one after Tuesday. So appreciate you guys watching. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to all kick off tomorrow morning, bright and early, and it's going to get going real quick. So enjoy the hockey, everybody, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Bye for now.